Welcome to the Institute's Ask Me Anything. My name is Cecil Bullard, founder of the Institute for Automotive Business Excellence and coach, presenter. And today we have with us Wayne Marshall, who is our relatively new CEO. And he does coaching with us also. Started out as a coach, and then we needed his help in some other areas. And so he got... I don't know if I'd call it a promotion. It might be a demotion, actually.
Level of service. It's just a level of service.
If you are with us online, we appreciate you being here. Please put your questions in the chat. I will do my best to pay attention, but we actually have a couple of people off site, off camera that are looking at that, and they'll be popping those questions up as we need those. I've got a few questions that were asked to start. Quick tips for when times are slow. I think marketing is always a bit of a challenge, Wayne. And right now, I think because of the government slowdown, there was a period where, about a month where things were a little slower. I'm going to tell you, first of all, don't wait for times to be slow to be marketing, because it's too late at that point in time. There are things that you can do if you have a good customer base. Number one, book the appointment. Book the next appointment. You're the professional. You're the one that knows. Be like the dentist. Start booking your customers' next appointments. And if you want, give them a reason to do that. At my shops, we had a preferred customer program, and part of the preferred customer program was booking their next appointment when they needed to have the car in for service. We had a 6,000-mile, 6-month service schedule for our clients. And so number one, start now booking the next appointment. And if you do that, we had 6 to 7 appointments booked per day, and a 92% show-up rate of our clients under that circumstance. I think there are some things you can do if you're already out there in social media, or if you are regularly hitting your clients with some type of an email that they are looking at or opening, or you're sending some messaging through their texting. I know that we looked at our pattern. So when were we traditionally slow? November had October, November had traditionally been a slow time for our shops. When we looked at that, we looked at events that were going on. The city had a pretty big event in October, and we supported that event. We participated in that event, and we actually did a shop where we had the event. We brought the event into our shop. And so we ended up having between 300 and 400 people in our shop in mid-October for an event between the chamber and the B&I group that we belong to. And that made our Novembers, that finished our Octobers out really strong and made our Novembers very strong. So within a year, we were able to, because we were aware of the fact that November was a slow month, we were able to do some things that made November a much stronger month for us. And actually November became one of our strongest months. I think it's like, oh no, I just don't have any cars. There are things that you can do. I did a pizza thing once. I just called one of the local pizza shops, and I said, I want to buy 10, large pizzas with everything on them. What's it going to cost me? And I sent a message out to my clients. Hey, it's February. February is a little slow for us, so we're going to do something we don't normally do. If you make, for the first 10 customers that make an appointment, they're going to get a large pizza at Giovanni's Pizza Place. And believe it or not, we made 19 appointments within about an hour of sending that out. And it was funny because I said 10, and when number 11 came on board, I said, congratulations, you're number 10. And when number 14 came on board, I said, congratulations, you're number 10. We booked 19 appointments. Now, if you're doing stuff like that and you're doing it kind of continuously, that you can't make a business on that. You need a website company that does good SEO, SEM, good local search, etc. And you can't. I love the shops that say, "Hey, we're really busy right now, so we're going to cut our marketing." We don't do that. Even when we're busy, we don't cut our marketing, and especially when we're not busy, we don't cut our marketing. So, Wayne, do you have anything to add there?
We got a couple questions, but yes, on what you just shared, Cecil, you're correct. Consistency. People get busy, they quit marketing, or like, hey, I don't have to do this. I got car counts, I got bookings, out 3-4 weeks. No, you got to keep marketing, be consistent, keep the message going, stay top of mind. And, and as people talk, when it comes to what works and what doesn't, I see one of the questions was internet marketing versus SMS marketing more efficient. Some of that depends. And I always tell people, kind of pay attention to what people are asking. If a customer comes in and it's part of your intake, what's one of the first things your service advisors are asking? How do you want to be communicated with? Do you want me to call you? Do you want me to text you? Do you want me to email you? If you're being told that, well, I like to be text, make a note of that, because that's telling you that SMS marketing or text messaging them and doing other things might be more effective for that particular client over some other things. So you've got to look at your data, which you can get within your CRM. But yeah, the biggest thing is the consistency of what you're doing and how you're doing it, and don't stop. Don't stop.
And so I in that particular question that we just had, internet or SMS, I'd like to answer that question a little more completely. There's two types of things that I'm trying to do with marketing. Number one, I want to capture the person that needs auto repair today. So that person is going to, if they don't already have a shop, they're going to go online and they're either going to go to Google or one of the search engines, and they're going to say, where do I find Toyota repair or Toyota service, or how do I find someone to check my check engine light, or whatever that is. That's someone that has a problem today, money in their hand, and they're looking for somebody. That is internet marketing. And that's one aspect of who I'm trying to find, right? And so I need to have that, but I also need to be top of mind, and that is more SMS marketing is more top of mind. So social media is more about getting my name out there so that when you need something, you remember my name, you know who I am. So, if you never thought about coaching and you said to yourself all of a sudden, oh my God, I'm going broke, I need a coach. And you went online and said, who are the best coaches? I'm going broke. How do I find a coach? I want to show up there. I want the Institute to come up there. But I also want you to have seen things about the Institute. So our YouTube channel, our social media stuff that we do, our regular emails, being a part of our Institute group. Because when you go to look for that coach, I want you to say, oh, those Institute guys, I've heard about them. I know who they are. I feel comfortable with them. And that makes you more likely to then select me and show up at my place. So marketing is not necessarily one or the other. Marketing is, I'm probably doing 7 or 8 things at any given time. So I have a website that's maintained by somebody that knows how to do that. I have SEO, search engine optimization, etc. I have social media. I book my customer's next appointment. I work within the community. I'm involved with BNI, Chamber, Rotary, things like that. And so I also have a CRM that is sending my customer database information routinely. Maybe 3-4 times a month, once a week, client will get something from me that reminds me that I'm here, and it reminds me of their name. So marketing is, I believe, first of all, that most shop owners are not qualified to do their own marketing. We're do-it-yourselfers. And I would just tell you, how do you feel when one of your clients who's not qualified to work on their car works on their car, then brings it to you and says, oh, it won't run, fix it, right? And yet we kind of do the same thing. I need to have someone that knows what they're doing do my marketing. And I believe that marketing is an important part of a long-term successful business that makes a profit consistently. Okay, so hey, Michael, you got another question for me there, brother? Eric Sevum. And by the way, I think that was Cheyenne. If I mispronounced your name, thank you for that question, Cheyenne. We have Eric Sevum. Hey, Eric. Good to hear from you, brother. Can you speak more about preferred customer program? What is the reason what you think most people booked and came back in? Our preferred customer program gave our client 2 car washes a year, 2 loaner cars a year. We did a windshield treatment as part of a preferred customer program. And we did bring the price of our minor service, which at the time, 12 years ago, 14 years ago, was $165, down by $25 as a preferred customer. And the reason why was because we knew when preferred customers came in that their average repair order was a few $100s higher than our normal average repair order of $800 and whatever it was at the time. And so we were able to say, if I gave them $25 as part of that program, I asked everyone at the counter, if you want to be a preferred customer. My service advisors asked every single person, hey, would you like to become a preferred customer? Would you like to hear about that program? I think we even had some buttons printed that said, ask us about our preferred customer program, et cetera. And so then they said, well, okay, what is it? And we said, well, we give you 2 loaner cars and 2 car washes. So when your car comes in, we wash it. When you leave it, you have a clean car, which, by the way, we did anyway. So by putting it into a preferred customer program, we made it more formalized, and we printed a card out for them that was a punch card that they had. And frankly, if you didn't bring your punch card, I'd still give you a loaner car or whatever if you're a preferred customer, because you're going to spend $1,100 on your car every time you came in. And so by creating a preferred customer program, I was also, during that conversation, able to say, and preferred customers book and keep their next appointment within 30 days. So we're going to schedule an appointment for you 6 months from now. We know you don't know what you're doing. And so we're going to send you a message 3 weeks before, and 3 days before, we're going to call you. And if we need to reschedule, it's not a problem. We just need to know that 3 days before so we can plan our schedule. And then we just reschedule them. And so that was our preferred customer program. And I think it was a really good thing. No, I did not incentivize my service advisors to book future appointments or reward them. Part of their pay plan, I mean, my service advisors, again, 14 years ago, were making $150,000 a year. They were getting paid exceptionally well. So, there are things. I'm an old guy. You can tell, the white hair, et cetera. And I just sometimes feel like it's your job, right? And so we book our customer's next appointment, and we had an expectation of that, and that was part of the job, and it became a process and a habit that we did all the time with our clients. So thank you again, Eric, for that follow-up. Anything else to add there, Wayne?
No, but I agree with you. It's their job, and they get incentivized by selling the service, the work, on top of what they're already doing. So it's about building it for everybody. Everybody wins type of thing, but that's part of their job.
The other part of that is preferred customers are more likely to buy. They're easier to handle. You already have trust with them, so they're better for the service advisor. It's just easier to deal with that particular person all the way through. So if you don't have a preferred customer program, man, I would certainly think about that as part of what I do. Let's throw another one in. So this is, if I mispronounce your name, just ignore it. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm going to say Issa Tola. How often do you send out mailers, and how often do you send text blasts? We use Shop Genie and Techmetric. I'm not a big mailer fan. And so today I look at return on investment on mailers and return on investment on dollars spent online. And I was just looking at with a client yesterday. I think online we have almost a 5-to-1 return on investment on our lowest, and on our highest we have about an 18-to-1 return on investment on our online marketing dollars spent. On our direct mail or mailers, we have like a 0.5%, like a 1-to-1 ROI, maybe a 1.5-to-1 ROI. So if I have $1,000 or $2,000 and I can spend it here and get $3,000 back, or I can spend it over here and get $5,000 back, I'm always going to spend it where I can get $5,000 back. If you are going to do text messaging or emails to your client base, one of the things you have to be concerned with is I don't want to send so many emails that they take me out of the system. And I would tell you that if you're sending probably more than 2 a week, that's probably too many, and you're going to get pulled from the system. So, I kind of like maybe 4 a month, 1 a week. And sometimes that's difficult from our end because we'll have, our normal stuff, then we'll have some special thing like we're going to do this event and we'll have a class at the same time. So you might see 2 or 3 from the Institute in a week, but you're not going to see 2 or 3 from the Institute in a day because we know you're going to X us out. So you want to be careful about how often you hit your clients, and you don't want to overload that. You also don't want to, primarily, if I'm going to use discounts as a way to bring people in, I don't want to use discounts with the customers I already have because they're the ones that are most likely to spend the most money. I want to use discounts if I'm going to with the customers I don't have as a reason for someone to come in and try us out. And I still, even though if I'm going to do that, I'm still talking about added value things like loaner cars and rental cars and great warranties and things like that, both on my website and in anything I'm going to do. Wayne, back to you, brother.
I guess the thing I would say, as we all know, if I'm sending an email or a text, you have to give people the option to opt out. So pay attention to your data. If you're sending out with frequency and you're seeing low opt-outs, you're probably okay. But if all of a sudden your frequency goes up and you start seeing a lot more people drop out, that's telling you, look, they're opting out because they're getting too much. The other thing when it comes to frequency of and what you're doing, be it direct mail or anything, the reason certain things work better over others sometimes just comes down to what the offer is. And so, again, pay attention to what the data is telling you. If I offer X and I see this return and I offer Y and I don't see as good and I offer Z and it's really bad, well, obviously don't do Z again. But think about what's working and what responses you're getting. Same with direct mail. I tell people if you send a direct mail piece on anything, it doesn't have a good call to action that you can see that card, bring this card in for X, and they don't bring the card back in, you're still going to honor it. But, get good data of what's working and what's not. Too many people just throw it out there and then don't track it. And that's the biggest thing of, if you're going to do it, track it. Get the data, understand what's working and what's not.
And I think you get the excuse, I've heard the excuse, well, it's kind of hard to tell if they came online. And so anyone that came to me and said, hey, I found you on the web, I ask a second question. Do you mind, if I ask you another question, what specifically directed you to us? And that helps me determine. And then I get the best data I can and I make the best decisions. Wayne is talking about like A/B testing, meaning that I have 2 messages that I send out and then I see what the return is. So this is one offer, this is another. And when we're talking offers, an offer can be a lot of things. It doesn't have to be a discount or a, $25 off or something like that. It can be, if you come in off of this, you get a pizza. It can be, if you come in off of this, you're going to get a extended warranty on your car, added value services. And I always believed, and I think the data supports that customers that are attracted to added value services are better customers that will spend more money on their car than per se customers that are attracted by discounts. Okay. I don't know what the next question is, Wayne, but why don't you, let's see.
Well, Levi, good to see you're with us, Levi. Had the privilege to talk to you and Sally. I'm a firm believer, and I think, Cecil, you will agree, you need to separate those out on your P&L because your tech pay is part of what you're doing when it comes to the services being offered, and that's got to be part of that cost when we're looking at our GP. The other costs that you have for advisors, that's an expense. That's part of your overall operating expense. So when we start talking about those ratios of trying to get to 63 to 65% GP, your tech pay is in that top with the parts, what the revenue was minus these things, so you can see where that return is coming. And the advisors, yeah, I want to show them separate. That's the cost of doing business as part of your overall overhead and expense of operation. Cecil,
they also have different margins. So and I also want to measure my business based on, parts and labor and based on sales expense and marketing expense. Even I look at my banking expense cost separately than all the other expense. I don't just put that in the fixed expense pile because I want to know that I'm not paying, 3.5% for my credit cards. I want to know that I'm paying 1.8 because there are companies that will get me 1.8. And if I'm going to run $1 million through credit cards, 1.2, that's a substantial amount of additional profit for my company. Let me draw this out. We kind of got a new thing. So I'm going to draw this out with my unsteady hand. One sec here.
Questions with
parts.
This is on incentive pay plan for service advisors. So you could probably do a little of this at the same time.
Right. So I have parts and labor here, and I want parts to be about 18% of my sales, and I want a margin on my parts of about 58%. If I don't break it out, I can't tell what the margins are, and I also don't know what percentage of sales it is. My labor cost, which is my techs, and we'll call that a loaded labor, my tech cost is going to be about 20% of my sales, and I want my margin on my techs loaded FICA FUTA workers comp to be about 64%. And then also my parts should be about 45% of what I sell, and my labor should be about 55%. And that would give me a cost of goods of 38%. I'm sorry if my writing's a little sloppy. And an overall margin gross profit of about 62%. Now, by the way, that's 62% with my labor cost in there. That's not 62% only with parts cost and no labor cost. And then under here, then I have marketing. I break marketing out so I can measure it better. That's marketing, by the way. If you're online, let's see here. Let me see if I can't make that a little clearer for you. That's marketing, and I want that to be somewhere between 6 and 9% of sales. I have my sales cost, my service advisors, whoever's selling, and that's a loaded cost also. And I want that between 8 and 10% of my sales. And then fixed expenses, which I will break up. If you're one of our clients, we'll break up into about 12 categories. Fixed expenses would be 25% of my sales, which would leave me a net of just about 20% to about 24%. And so that's the breakdown of what we're trying to accomplish. All right, so we had another question, I think, about pay plans.
Yep.
Where'd Wayne go? There you are. So why don't you take the next question here, Wayne, while I try to erase the board, and so it might be ready for another use here.
The question was, what's good incentive pay plan for service advisor? And I'm going to default back to you. You're the master of. And I
on
know
pay plans.
you'll explain it quicker, faster than I would
Yeah.
be able to.
So, there's a bunch of theory behind how you pay people, and you want pay plans that are motivational, et cetera. I think if you're watching online and you're looking at Changing the Industry podcast or anything that, you're hearing about a lot of techs complain about things like flat rate, and you're hearing maybe owners complain about hourly, because hourly has no motivation to do more, because if I do more, I'm still paid whatever I'm paid. So a salary or an hourly, to me, is not motivational to the employee. Flat rate is certainly motivational to the employees that can be motivated by money, but flat rate puts the whole load of the shop, whether or not I have cars and work and flow, on the shoulder of the technician, which I don't believe is fair. And so what you need is a blended program where we know that because I'm going to have 20% of my sales be tech pay loaded, I could say to myself, I'm going to sell an hour's worth of labor. I happen to be $150. I have $30 an hour to pay that tech under that $150 an hour labor. So that's all I can have. So I can't, excuse me, hang on. Go back. There's two different things that we're talking about, and I just got them mixed up. Of my total sales, 20%. So if I'm $150 an hour and I'm close to 50-50 parts and labor, I'm $300 an hour, and I can afford to pay 20% of that out to a technician, which would be $60 an hour loaded. If I'm $150 an hour as my effective labor rate, I can afford to pay almost 40% of that, about 36. And so that would give me $70 an hour or so to pay a technician if I hold effective labor rate very close to or above whatever my posted rate would be at say 150. So somewhere between, I don't know, $60 and $70 an hour loaded is what I have to pay that technician that does that work, that gives me 8 hours a day. I want to give my technician, Maslow says people that are not worried about food, shelter, things like that, can think about God and science and how to do the job better, etc. So I want to give my technicians somewhere around 60% of what I can afford to pay them. So if I can afford to pay $60 an hour loaded, unload that, it's somewhere around 50. So I've got a $30 an hour base rate, and I do that particularly on the clock. It's kind of like my minimum guarantee for that person. Now I have another $12, $15 that I can build in to a bonus plan for my tech. And so what do I want from a tech? That's what I have to think about. And I would tell you that it doesn't matter what position you're looking at: service advisor, tech, manager, parts person, just did a shop foreman pay plan. The shop foreman's job is to make sure that the shop is productive and that the techs are getting educated and the problems are being handled, etc. So if I can tie in the bonus structure to what I want from a shop foreman, that $12, $15 an hour, then I'm going to get more of the behavior that I want. With a technician, I really want three things. I want a technician to be productive. So the more hours they put out in a day, up to and above 8 hours of time. And since we are most shops are using a multiplier on book time, we should be able to get, if we're 8 hours a day there, I should have a decent tech be able to give me 10 that I can bill out because of the 20 to 30% multiplier I'm using on time. So I'm going to pay them, based on that. That's going to be part of their bonus. And I usually put 3 different levels of productivity, where it's $1 an hour plus another $1 an hour plus another $2 an hour. And then I want quality of work. And for me, quality of work comes from someone that's being educated, has experience, etc. So I want certifications, either from the manufacturer, the cars that they're working on, or from ASE at this point in time. And I know we could argue about ASE and the validity and what it means, but I think that a guy today that, takes the test, takes the time to take the tests and seeks that out is trying to do a better job and is going to have more knowledge. And I like that. I also have a bonus based on maybe being a master tech. There's a couple dollars an hour. I have a bonus on 8 to 12 hours of education per quarter. So if you're getting classes and you're taking them, I'm going to pay you another $2 an hour in your bonus structure. So I might have $12 to $15 an hour built in bonuses for that person, and they get that based on production. So I could have a guy come in and spend 40 hours on the clock and only produce 30 hours. He's going to lose $6 an hour in his bonus structure, but there's still the potential to earn $6, but he's going to earn $6 from education and training and, maybe a longevity, been here for a while, or a comeback, standard that you put in place. But he's going to earn 6 on 30. And now the same guy comes back and the next week he produces 50 hours in a 40-hour week. He gets the $6 for productivity. He gets his $30 an hour. He also gets another 6 for the other bonus stuff. And now he's made 12 times 50. So $600 in a week as an additional bonus over and above the $30 an hour he got paid as a base rate. And I'm going to so wherever I build pay plans, I'm thinking about what do I want from this person? And the motivational part, which is the bonus structure part, is going to be built around what I need from that particular position. And frankly, someone mentioned to you bonus your service advisors for booking appointments. Well, maybe I do. Maybe that's one of the bonus things that's $1 an hour, or that's a percentage of sales. You get 0.05% of your sales based on the fact that you booked 90% of the clients in for their next appointment or something like that. And I would also tell you that the rules around pay plans, a whole nother class, we have that online at gearforshops.com, but the rules around pay plans, I have to have a bonus that is enough to motivate and change behavior. So here I am, a master tech in your shop, you're paying me $40 an hour, or maybe you're paying me $60, whatever, right? And that's all well and good. And now you're going to give me a bonus. And if I work much harder, you're going to give me $1 an hour. That doesn't motivate me. In fact, that's almost insulting. So you have to have bonuses that are substantial. I need to make it so that a tech could earn another $2,000 a month if they do what I want. And then the other thing is the more productive your techs are, the better quality of work, the more flow, the more you sell, the more money I have to pay the techs. And when you overcome 100% productivity and you start to get into the 110 and 120% productivity out of your techs, I have a lot more money that I can pay techs at that point in time. And that's why we structure those pay plans in that way. Okay, I hope I answered the question well. If not, that we do have a pay plans class online at gearforshops.com. And there's other YouTube stuff that we have at our YouTube channel that would get you there and give you some more information. Melissa Velasquez, thank you very much. When looking at your financial information, I find it difficult to navigate the issue of vendor expenses lagging behind a month from the revenue. March vendor bills are being paid in April, so it seems a bit skewed. So I'm going to make, Wayne, this is this is good for you. So I'm going to let you answer this, and I hope you're going to talk about cash versus accrual. And if I am doing cash, which is what we're talking about here, yes, I need a bigger picture, like 3 months to kind of get the feel of what's really there. So go ahead, Wayne.
Yeah, Melissa, in the question, it's looking like if you're lagging, and so if a bill comes in on March 31st and you've done the service, you've done the work, you've invoiced the customer, So the customer's paid for that part, and then you get the invoice and, obviously a few days later from the parts vendor, and then you pay that invoice in April. If you're posting it and you're showing it in April, you're doing it on your cash flow and you're doing it based on cash basis. If you're on an accrual, you're accruing that expense. So if you've received the revenue, you're going to accrue the expense and still show it in March, even though you paid it in April. So it really comes down to, how are you setting your books? And if you're setting your books on cash basis, you're right, it will have a lag. If you're setting your books as accrual, you accrue that expense, even though you paid it, it's still going to go back and show it. It's all part of what you carry as work in process or WIP. And then you also have the cost of goods and services once you close out your invoice. So depending on your shop management software that you are using, you can choose which one you want to do, which will also change how you choose, because if you're tied back to QuickBooks, you can decide and you can click it on and off if you want to be cash basis or if you want to be accrual basis. So that question, as I read it and as I think about what you're asking, really comes back to how you're setting your books. And that's what we try to address and try to talk about. So maybe we didn't. It's something for us to go back and look at our material, and be a little more, I guess, specific on the differences and why you would do what you're doing and how that does affect your cash flow.
A lot of shops do an accrual-based accounting because they do get a lot of their bills in the next month. Many shops, however, do a cash basis accounting, so they wait till they get their bills, then they push that expense back into the previous month so they can get a clearer picture of what really happened in the previous month. And that's a great way to do accounting, frankly. On the other hand, you may say to yourself, wow, that's a lot of work and a lot of trouble. And so if you're going to run a cash basis accounting, you don't want to necessarily look at 1 month. You want to look at maybe a 3-month period as your norms. And that'll help you understand, because every month you'll carry parts pricing or you'll carry some of your expenses into the next month. And if you see a bigger picture, like a quarterly picture, it'll give you a more accurate data to make better decisions. So, I don't know that accrual or cash basis, some people probably tell you accrual is a little more difficult because you are going, for starting here and moving that back into the previous month. But once you set it up and once you decide to do it that way, it's really pretty simple and pretty automatic if you have an accounting company or a bookkeeping company that does that for you. All right. Nicole Weller. Thank you, Nicole. What is the best way to know how many admin people you need in your business, and how do you calculate their salaries? How many admin people do I need? I think in my shop, we did 2.6 million with 4 techs. This is, again, 14 years ago. So obviously you need someone to do accounting. We had a part-time bookkeeping person on staff that also helped with phones. I had a parts person and with those 4 techs, and I had 2 service advisors, and I was the manager. So, you look at that and you say, wow, that seems like it could be a little top heavy, except we had a very high average repair order and we had 120% productivity. So the 4 technicians did the work of 5. And I think what happens if you have more than 2 techs per service advisor is that if you're paying attention, you'll see that your average repair order is starting to drop and customers are starting to be penciled out further and further. So my car count might even drop in a day because my service advisor is overwhelmed and my customer service is going down because I have too many cars for that person to deal with. And so I like 1 service advisor to 2 techs. Now, I've got to have accounting people in my business. And I think, you might say, well, wait a minute, I'm a really small business. We only have 1 tech and I'm the owner. And so I'm doing the accounting or my wife's doing the accounting. Fine. At that point in time, that's what you're going to do. But there probably is a point in time where you look at yourself and you say to yourself, okay, I've got 2 service advisors and 4 technicians in my business. And my 2 service advisors are having a hard time keeping up with estimating and selling and flow in the shop, which is one of the things that just kills productivity and profitability for automotive shops. And so am I going to hire another service advisor? Or if I hired a parts person and they took that off the shoulders of my service advisors, would that give me higher average repair orders and higher flow? I do know, frankly, that I look at what a shop does and I say, okay, a manager of a shop that's going to do, say, 3 million in sales, that's probably someone that's going to get paid somewhere between 120 and 200,000 a year, maybe even 250 if the margins are right, the productivity's right, and the profits are right. Again, now I'm building a pay plan for that manager where 40% of their pay is going to come from margins and productivity and sales, as opposed to, hey, you're just there making sure people do what they're supposed to do. And then, for my techs, like I said, technicians, 20% of sales, or about 36% of my effective labor rate. For my service advisors, 10% of sales, 8 to 10% of sales loaded. And then if I'm going to have a parts person, it would depend on the size of the business as to what I could or would pay that parts person. And if I did hire a parts person, I would increase my labor rate so that I could pay for that parts person and not take that out of my pocket. And so I couldn't hire a parts person at a shop that had 1 tech and 1 service advisor because I don't have the money, the flow, or any of it built up to have that, that parts person. So, I want to keep my admin expenses in that 25%. And by the way, in that 25% of fixed expenses, I also have banking costs, debt costs, management costs, my salary for managing the shop, and the truck and the insurance and the liability insurance, and everything else is in that pile, the building and the equipment and debt, etc. And so I want to have a fairly comprehensive composite. It's not just my P&L, but another way to look at my financials to help me understand what those percentages are and to manage those percentages. We call that a composite, and all of our clients have one of those or have the ability to have one of those. Okay, I hope I answered that question, didn't create too much confusion. So, Issa, Tola, what are the top 4 KPIs you like to see in your operation, and does each KPI pay the team individually? I'll answer the second part of that is not necessarily. And I'll answer the first part of that in there's more than 4 KPIs that I want to see. So there's a daily KPIs that I like to see. What did we sell? What did we close? What did we finish? How much money came in? I like to see productivity daily, and I like to see opportunity. What did we find on the cars? And what our average repair order is. Those are 5 KPIs that I look at every single day. Now, you notice I'm not looking at margin daily. And the reason I don't look at margin like parts margin or labor margin daily is because I could have an engine that closes today with a 35% parts margin. And I look at that and I go, oh my God, we're not getting our margins, blah, blah, blah. I personally did not look at margins, parts margin or labor margin on a daily basis. I looked at that on a weekly basis and a monthly basis through my composite and through my P&L. And what you hope is that you have processes for estimating in play that will hold your parts margin and will hold your labor margins because of the processes that you've built within the business. So I gave you my daily 5. I would add sell rate into my weekly, what are we selling of the opportunity that we have, what the techs are finding on the cars. I look at that because, a bad attitude at the service counter, all of a sudden my average repair order and my sell rate will drop. And that's just somebody having a bad day or maybe having a bad week. You just don't know. We had a sell rate and an ARO drop, and it cost us $3,000 in sales a day for 3 days. First day, I didn't worry about it. Small amounts of data are not, you don't want to make tough decisions on small data. Second day, it made me nervous. By the third day, it was like, oh, we have a problem here. Went to my service advisors, brought them in, had conversations with them about selling. One of the service advisors, very defensive, calmed that down, said, hey, I just need you to really focus on sales. We got to bring these things back up. Sent them out of my office. The average repair order went up by $400 and et cetera. And then I found out 3 months later that the day that our sales dropped, his wife served divorce papers on him. Didn't find out right there. He didn't want to tell me. He was embarrassed, whatever it was. I found out later. But because I'm watching that number and I'm paying attention to that number on a daily basis, I was able to potentially probably save us maybe $100,000 in sales during a 3-month period that I would have dropped if I wasn't paying attention to those KPIs. And then we have a class. I hate to keep, but we do have a class. I think it's called Everything You Need to Know About Numbers and Profit in our gearforshops.com. It's not very expensive. I think it's about 4 hours, and it's all the formulas, all the KPIs, what you need to look at, etc. And that'll give you a much deeper dive than we can do here into that. Next question there. And I think we got about 10 minutes left, so we probably could do a couple more questions. Hey, Andrew, how you doing, brother? Wayne, why don't you
Sure.
go there?
I was looking at this question as they're showing up early for us, Andrew, and yes, I always look at it. It depends on, again, if you're building out a budget or a cash flow projection, you got to work on averages. The big thing is, and I think this plays into, and it's a little bit of what we got talking about earlier when Cecil was talking about credit card expenses. If you're paying X or Y and you're seeing certain trends and you're looking at that as a percentage back to your overall revenue, yeah, that's where you want to go. You know that you're going to spend somewhere around 1.5 to 1.8% in credit card expense. You don't know how much it's going to be. It's going to go up 1 month depending on how many people charge to what people don't charge the next month. So put in the average, do that percentage. Same with utilities. Look, there's so many different expenses that we have that have variability. So what I would do when I had my own business, I plugged everything in and I said, look, this is what my average is based on, I think sales are going to be $100,000. I think I'm going to run 1.5% for credit card expense. So I'm going to put $1,500. It's that easy. Same with your utilities. And then when you look at things quarterly, when you run your P&Ls, balance sheets, those quarterly reports, a lot of that settles out. So those ups and downs that you get from month to month now start settling out. You can see trends, you can see averages, and then really decide what you want to do or not do. If you need to tweak something or change up what your sales goal needs to be and some of the things that are going to be done, which plays back into a lot of what Cecil was just talking about of what different KPIs to look at. What are some of the different trends? And this all plays in that if you're seeing something go here or here, yeah, you want to pay attention. Do I need to change it? Is it just something that happened for those few days? Or do I got a bigger problem that's systemic because we don't have whatever in place that gives us the right checks and balances?
I would also add to that, sales goals are not necessarily only set on what my expenses are. I mean, that's one portion of it. I want to set sales goals based on, hey, I came in this business because I want a certain amount of profit. I also want to set sales goals based on my capacity. So if I have 3 technicians and I'm $200 an hour and my parts to labor ratio are, 1.8, 8.8 in parts for every hour of sales of labor I sell, that's $360 an hour times 3 guys times 8 hours a day times 1,960 days, which is what an average technician will work, taking a month off for holidays and vacation. And then I want to know what that number is, which is probably today 2 point something, 2.2, 2.3, 2.4 million. And I want to set my sales goal based on that, because if I'm paying the tech a certain amount of money, a certain percentage of that is going to my tech, but my sales aren't enough, then all of a sudden my fixed expenses become more as a percentage, my costs become more as a percentage, and I won't make the profit that I need. And again, I hate to say it, but man, if you really want to understand this and dig deep into it, everything you need to know about numbers and profit, I'd take it and watch it 5 times. Because I'm setting my goals not just based on what my expenses are. Obviously, I have to cover my expenses, and I want them to be 25% without parts, labor, sales cost, or marketing cost, because I want that 20% net. But I'm also looking at, well, I've got the capacity to do 2.4. If I only do 1.6, then my margins, my labor margin is going to be very low, and I will not make the profit that I want to make. I have to know what my capacity is, and I have to set the target in sales to hit that capacity at least at 100%. And I can't say more. It's last question, I think, and then we'll wrap it up. We're going to do this again next month. Do you phone script? Yes, I think phone scripts are great. We have, I hate to say it, but we have a, becoming great on the phones class that is, I think, a 4-hour class, very inexpensive, on gearforshops.com, that will tell you how to do all the phone, how to think on the phone, how to answer the phone, how to book appointments, etc. And I think phone scripts are great to start. And I think, everybody should have a script. We answer the phone in a very specific way, put a smile on our face, which I'm looking at myself, and I haven't been smiling much this morning, but I'm going to answer the phone. So I'm going to think of a great joke. Let me do that. Oh, yeah, that's funny as heck. Good morning. Thank you for calling Larry's Auto Works. This is Cecil. How can I help you today? That's a script. Okay. And that's a script that I want everyone answering the phone to use every single time, that way, with a smile on their face. I think you need to have scripts for people that you're training so that they understand the basics, and so that they could do it. How do I sell a coolant flush? How do I sell a brake flush or brake service? How do I answer, well, that's too much, or I can get it cheaper somewhere else. That's a script that, once I look at the common objections that I have on the phone, then I write scripts for those common objections, and I teach those to my staff that is going to be dealing with those things. And then they make it their own. So for me, I want you to use the phone script enough that it's part of who you are. And then I want you to make minor adjustments to that based on your personality or on who I'm talking to. And so we're going to make some adjustments to those phone scripts. Phone scripts can't be, well, we're going to do this 100% of the time, every single time. That's exactly what we're going to do, except for.
And people don't like, you got to be genuine. It's got to be you.
Yeah. So yes, I absolutely love phone scripts, but ultimately I want you to follow the script 80% and be genuine and move around a little bit based on who you're talking to and based on your own personality and style. My style, I'm a much more direct person. I'm always going to be more direct. Your phone script, if you're a supporter, or if you're a interpersonal is never going to fit me completely. And so I have to make adjustments to your phone script to fit my director style. All right. We are going to do this again next month. Michael, you're going to put the date of that up there, I assume. And if you would like to have a business evaluation, business review, no charge, no commitment, etc., we're going to put up a QR code for that. Man, I thank you all for your time today. I thank you for your questions. I think, Wayne, you're not going to be with me next time, but Michael Smith will be here.
It might be 3 of us.
So, yeah, all right. That'd be great. Then,
Get all 3 of us on the room.
then somebody's never going to get to talk. That's for sure. So, but yeah, it could be all 3 of guys from the Institute. So thank you very much for your time. Stay tuned for the QR code and the date of the next class. Thank you very much.